Fundamental number 4, ball position. Now, there's two trains of thought on this. Number 1, movable ball position. Number 2, static ball position. So let me just explain briefly what those are. People who apply the movable ball position rule are players that are actually shifting the ball position relative to the left and right foot. So let's say they were using a 6-iron, the ball would be here in the, or just in front of the middle of the stance. As the club would get shorter, they'll start to shift the ball more towards their right foot. As the club gets longer, they're going to start shifting it up towards the left foot. So they're moving the ball position with each club. I believe that is a good rule for players who don't change their width of their stance much. Players who change the width of the stance, which I believe most players should, are better using what I would call the static ball position. So I'm going to talk about that one in a little bit more detail. Let's say I had a 6-iron. I'm going to use a ball position which is something just that's a little bit more than a club head's width from my left heel. Now, with a 6-iron, as I've mentioned in fundamental number 3, the width of, or the correct stance, our feet are about shoulders width. So if I apply that rule, just a little more than a club head's width, feet at shoulder width, the ball is now just in front of the middle of my stance. Now, if the club will start to get shorter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this position static, and I'm going to narrow my stance. As we said, your stance will start to get a little narrower than your shoulder width as the club gets shorter. So I'm going to narrow the stance, which will now bring the ball position closer to the middle of my stance. So even I'm down to the sand wedge shot, the ball could start to look middle or even a little bit behind if I narrow my stance enough. As the club gets longer with the irons, again, I'm going to keep this position static. So let's say I was using a 4-iron or a 3-iron or a utility. The stance is now going to be wider than the width of my shoulders, which will put the ball more to the left side relative to my body without having to change the position between left heel and ball. Now, the only time we start to change this is when we start to hit woods. So if I was to get my driver, and I think you could apply this to a 3-wood as well, we're going to change that static position. We're now going to put it up towards the left heel, so it's further up in the stance. And I believe for fairway woods, 3-wood, 5-wood and driver, this would be a better position for you to play from. It's going to help a cleaner contact, not hit down on it too much with your fairway woods, and encourage you to hit slightly more up on it with the driver when the ball's teed up and you've got the ball up towards your left heel. Like I've been mentioning in a lot of these fundamentals, I want you to apply some of your own feel to this. We don't all swing the club the same. So let's say somebody's tendency is to strike a little bit more down on the driver, that's their swing style. They might start to play this more up to the inside of their left foot or even towards the toe. That gives them the best chance of striking up on it, hitting a good shot, maximizing their distance. If maybe you struggle with hanging back and you hit too much up on it, maybe you don't, with your driver, you don't need to go all the way up to your left heel. So do apply some feel to this to help you create the best shot for you. And that's the name of the game, trying to hit good shots. Some general guidelines for you to follow regarding the ball position: apply feel, look at the two options. If I had to recommend one, I would go after the static ball position. If you like my videos, subscribe by hitting the button bottom right hand corner of the screen. Also, for more articles, videos, options for online lessons, check out my website swingstation.com by clicking the link top right hand corner. Lastly, check out my app completegolfcoach.com. Great way to bring my videos and lessons to the driving range.